This video is sponsored by Crypto20, the world's first tokenized index fund. Raoul Pal is a former Goldman Sachs exec who's now becoming one of the top authorities in the crypto space. Now, one thing I have in common with Raoul is that we're both shouting from the rooftops that crypto is one of the best wealth building opportunities that there is right now. Crypto is exploding. The news and developments are coming in at lightning speed, and there's huge amounts of capital flowing into crypto. So in this video, we'll be looking at this huge crypto wealth transfer that's happening right now, then the power of network effects, how do we value a crypto asset, and how many of the layer ones are following the exact same adoption cycle. And then we'll finish with looking at 2022. How should we be thinking about our asset allocation, and what is your game plan? As always, if you do enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, always appreciated. Okay, so Raoul has a great way of verbalizing the big opportunity going on right now in front of our eyes. There's a big wealth transfer going on between asset classes. Ready? Let's do this.
I've explained to everybody now that this is the fastest adoption of any technology in all recorded history. So the chart you can see on the screen now shows that the internet back in 1997, when it had 150 million users, was growing at 63% a year. 150 million users in crypto is present day, and it's growing at 113% a year. So this is why it's so hard for us all to catch up, because it's growing at a ridiculous pace, and it's only accelerating. I mean, we've seen in the last year alone the rise of DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, central bank digital currencies, stable coins, you know, in a way that none of us could have expected. It's just happened so fast at such scale, and that's only going to continue. And that's a core philosophy of the exponential age. How I look at this, to frame it simply, is this is currently a $2.5 trillion asset class. It is, if you compare the other asset classes, they're between 150 and 300 trillion until you get to derivatives, which are 1 quadrillion. And then when you get to FX, it's multiple quadrillions. So the reality is, if we continue this rate of adoption, we should get to an equivalent size asset class in these digital assets. And that would make them worth 200 trillion. We have never, in all of human history, been given an opportunity that an entire asset class, not a stock, not a single token, an entire asset class goes up 100x in value, probably by the end of this decade. So as I've talked about before, this is, I think, the largest distribution of wealth and fastest distribution of wealth in all recorded history.
So we have an asset class that's growing faster than the internet did, and it's still under $3 trillion. And remember that most of the other major asset classes are between 100 and 200 trillion. And we are all experiencing the effects of large amounts of capital flowing from other asset classes into crypto, as institutions and corporations and people all want to grab a slice of these crypto gains. Okay, next up, one of the big things I learned from Raoul this past year is how to value a crypto asset. Now, in the stock market, investors like Warren Buffett and other value investors, they use the discounted cash flow model when trying to find the intrinsic value of a stock. And this basically looks at how much cash the company is generating each month or year. And the problem is with crypto is that it doesn't cash flow. So many people are finding it very difficult to know what a crypto is worth. And a great way introduced to me by Raoul is by looking at the network of the crypto asset. Check it out.
I have been following Metcalfe's law as my guide for this. Metcalfe's law is about how do you value a network? And it's about basically the number of people on the network plus the number of connections between those people. And the more connections and the more applications built on top of those people, the more valuable it is. So the biggest network is currently Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has less applications built on it than Ethereum does. What is interesting is adoption effects seem to repeat themselves. It seems to be a human behavioral thing. So if you look at this next chart, Bitcoin now is basically exactly following Bitcoin 2013 in price structure. It's weird. And this is not a chart I've just pulled up today. I've been following this for a year and a half once I first started discovering Metcalfe's law. And I'm like, bloody hell, this is weird. But it gives you a rough idea. I don't expect it to be perfect, but it gives you a rough idea. And what I'm expecting is a gigantic rally into year end. And we'll talk a bit about an extended cycle in a sec. You know, just by using that chart, it gets me somewhere like 300,000 Bitcoin. But the other killer chart is once I start discovering Metcalfe's law, I start realizing that Ethereum's exactly following Bitcoin's last cycle. And it's like, oh my God, this is spooky. I mean, I've got it actually on my Bloomberg in real time, and it almost works. Tick for tick. I've never seen anything like it. And that gives a cycle projection for Ethereum of 20,000. And again, I actually think it's going to overshoot. But here's the chart of Solana against Ethereum in the last cycle. When Ethereum was the darling, the new breakthrough, it's exactly following. And the same is true of Terra. It's exactly following. It's like, wow. So as these different protocols get adoption, they're all behaving in the same way. While Bitcoin is repeating its early cycle of massive adoption. So for me, this is super interesting. And again, I don't expect these to be perfect, but they're contextualizing network adoption, which is, I think, everything in this space.
So by looking at how many users and developers are coming into the ecosystem and the overall size of the network is a great way to put some intrinsic value on a crypto. And isn't it spooky how many of the top cryptos are following the same adoption pattern of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and now the new layer ones like Solana and Luna? And it also looks like the charts are pointing to a huge run coming into the end of this year. Okay, so now we turn to 2022, as it is fast approaching. And the big questions are, what is going to happen in 2022? What should we do? And how should we go about our asset allocation? Well, let's turn back to Raoul. So what is going to happen in 2022 and how do we navigate potential crashes?
It's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know. Obviously, it's a very volatile asset class. It's a logarithmic. So you can have these 50% pullbacks within the same trend, much like Amazon, Apple, and stuff like that. There is also periods of Amazon and Apple that have gone sideways for 2 or 3 years after a 50% correction. It's something like that. I don't think the corrections will be as deep in the main protocols. In other stuff, it will be. It's a risk curve. It's what normal happens. My guess is either the corrections are shorter and sharper. Actually, I don't know. Shorter and sharper, or just shallower and longer, or none of the above. I don't know. It makes it really hard to navigate. But, you know, I'm actually on the side setting up a fund of funds to exactly deal with this issue because it's impossible to know what to do.
And that is in fact the right answer from anyone who I personally have a lot of respect for. The right answer is, ultimately, no one knows what is going to happen. And be very skeptical of anyone who tells you they know what is going to happen next year. I constantly remind myself of this. No one knows the future. And no chart or technical analysis is going to tell you what is going to happen next year. Could there be a super cycle where the market just goes higher and higher all year? It could. Could there be a 50 to 80% crash that lasts 2 to 3 years like in 2018? It could. Could there be a 50% crash that lasts only 1 month and then quickly gets bought back up? It could, and if there is a major crash, how do we know which altcoins are going to come back and which ones are going to die out? Those are the big questions of 2022. Former Goldman Sachs exec Raoul Pal is now one of the leading authorities in the crypto space. He too is shouting from the rooftops that crypto is the wealth building opportunity of right now, and it's available to everyone. One of the biggest problems traditional investors have is how to value a crypto asset, as unlike stocks, they do not cash flow. And one of the best methods is taking a look at the network of the crypto asset. How many users are coming in? How many developers does it have? How many applications, etc., etc. And many of the top cryptos seem to be going through the exact same adoption cycle, from Bitcoin to Ethereum, now to Solana and Luna. And as 2022 approaches, it's becoming more and more important to build a game plan on how to tackle the main scenarios which could play out next year. And be very skeptical of anyone who tells you that they know how this is going to play out, as one thing will never change: people do not know the future. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Tell me, what do you think about the big wealth transfer going on right now? Let me know below. For now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, and a big thank you to everyone who does. If you haven't yet subscribed, then click below and join us. Got some great videos coming up that you don't want to miss. To check out the Crypto 20 Index Fund, see the link below this video. And all to say, I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.